Welcome to Anti-Fiction. This is a weekly nonfiction podcast where each week I, Christian Yates, select a topic, and then I invite two guest hosts to come and talk about stories related to that topic. My guest hosts this week are prodigal son, Nate Lukehart, and
Good to be back.
And I guess wayward daughter, Dee Burdine. So our topic today is ghosts. Ooh. Mike started that
Terrifying.
with the first one, so I figured
Hey.
I'd keep up the tradition. So if you've been following us on Instagram or Twitter at AntiFictionCast, you'll know that all this month we are doing demonic possessions and ghost stories. Dee loves demonic possessions.
No, I do not. I will not be a host for that. Thank you very much.
But ghosts are your thing. So it's good to
Well,
have you on
yes.
for ghosts
Thank
today.
you.
So check us out with our ghost stories and our possession stories all this month. We got 5 episodes coming up for October. This is the third one. So, and we're actually releasing one on Halloween, which I'm hoping means that it's the spookiest.
Ooh, I'm going to have to read.
Right.
Is it going to be
It's
demonic
ghosts.
or ghosts?
It's
okay.
ghosts. It's gonna be
all
ghosts
right.
on that
I'm
one.
in.
So anyway, so our topic is ghosts, and the story I picked is from Sweden this time. Because as it turns out, we're kind of popular in Sweden. So
That explains why it's not a demon in Sweden. Pacifists. They don't have demons there.
there's no
All the
demons
ghosts-
in Sweden?
No, all the ghosts are friendly. It's a little known fact.
Oh.
It's like Casper.
Which is horrifying if you know the whole story of Casper.
I don't.
No.
He haunted his father until he killed himself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's
okay.
actually a detail in the movie. And it's really glossed over.
Huh.
Yeah.
I am going to have to watch Casper. Yeah.
Well, it's because I think his father was so sad at losing his little boy, and he was just trying to be a part of his father's life. And oh my goodness,
Yeah,
I didn't.
pretty
no,
much.
I will never look at Casper the same way again.
Well, so anyway, so Sweden.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's a fucked up detail of Casper that I'm going to have to go
is.
back and look for. So this story takes place in the village of Borgvattnet, which is in Jutland County, Sweden. The building in question is a haunted building. It's called Borgvattnet Vicarage, which was built in 1876, and it is claimed to be one of Sweden's most haunted locations. Meanwhile, Draco is running around in the background of this podcast, chasing after a stuffed mouse.
Or something.
He's going nuts. So anyway, it was built in 1876, and then in 1800, so it's built as a vicarage, which is like some kind of priesty kind of
Okay, I
like
was gonna have to
parsonage.
ask.
Yeah,
It's
No
where
idea
the
what that
parson
yeah,
lives.
yeah. So the parson for this village, or the vicar for the village, would live in this house, and in 1900, that vicar was Per Hedlund and his wife Marta, and they lived in the house from 1900 to 1908. But in 1907, while giving birth to her 11th child, Marta died in childbirth, which I feel like is a common occurrence after 11 children.
Yeah, you roll the dice that many times, it's bound to happen.
Yeah. I mean, technically speaking, it's always a 50-50 chance.
Yes.
Technically.
God.
And especially in 1900, that you're going to die in childbirth, it's 50-50.
And
So
they had their children so much closer together than they do.
So that way the older ones can watch the younger
Correct.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, work on the farms or whatever.
Absolutely.
Probably.
Yeah.
But so during the childbirth of her 11th child, Marta died, and Per took that very hard, and he buried her body in the backyard, where it remained for several days before villagers appealed to him to move her body to an actual cemetery.
I'm questioning the decision making there. That's a bit of a rash decision where suddenly it's like, well, I've got a backyard.
Right.
I've got room.
He's
It's
like,
not like it's a pet.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's not like
it's
it's
a
a
bit
pet.
odd.
Well, I mean, he was distraught. So
That's
he's
true.
like, I'm a barrier in the backyard. And then that
Keep
way,
her close.
he only has to walk like 100 feet to go visit her every day. You know, that's...
Depressing and real fucked up.
Yeah. But so he agreed with the villagers, and he dug up her body, but then he left the area and took the body with him. And nobody, I guess, heard from
All right, you
them
kind of got me back on
after
his
that.
side, but now I'm-
Right, yeah.
Yep.
And
Like, what?
where are the children?
Just kicking it.
He
With
didn't
him,
take
or
the
did he-
children
Didn't
with
take
him?
the...
Oh, he abandoned
He
them.
just left. I guess at this point, most of the children were like older, but I mean, obviously one of them was an infant.
Okay.
So,
All right, Timmy, you're 8 years old. Time to take care of the family. I
right,
gotta go.
You're the man of the house now. So one of Per and Marta's sons, Nils Hedlund, he later moved into the house as the resident vicar. So he wrote. Once he moved in, this is the first time that any sort of paranormal haunting activity or any kind of ghostly phenomenon was ever documented. So he moved in, and then in 1927, he had written a letter where he reported observing unseen hands tearing his laundry down from the clothesline where they were hanging to dry. So that was like the very first instance of anything kind of paranormal happening. But again, that was 1927, and lots of other things with every subsequent vicar that moved in would report other phenomenon occurring.
Sounds to me like it was just his mother and he did the laundry wrong.
Right, and she
Yeah.
was like, get this
Come
shit
on.
down.
Do it again.
Look, there are still spots.
Do it right this time.
Unseen being the key word here, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
You can infer via context, please. That was definitely his mother.
or maybe it was just some really strong wind. You know?
Also, I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, other phenomenon associated with Borgvattnet Vicarage are that inside you can hear ghostly feet stomping snow off of boots or tapping on walls or the sounds of fingers being run down the walls.
I was unaware ghosts had to stomp the snow off their boots too.
Well, I
They're
mean,
really just like
yeah,
us.
You know, it's psychosomatic. There's not
Okay,
really
all
snow
right.
on their boots, but they think there is because they're ghosts.
We're psychoanalyzing ghosts
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I think it has more to do with their routine that they had in
There
real
you go.
life.
Yeah, and old habits die hard,
Yes.
even if you're dead. So the first floor of the building itself, it contains the kitchen, the dining room, the pink room, and a room called the expedition. Now, in the expedition room, 3 people have reported seeing a man sitting at a table that disappeared before their eyes. The beds will show depressions as though someone is sitting on it, and furniture will move on its own. The pink room, which is also referred to as the childbirth room, so in that room, ghostly babies are heard crying, which is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yep. Ghostly women are heard going through labor and delivery, and reports of heavy feelings in this room are commonplace.
Is there any other confirmed deaths to have happened in this house other than the woman?
None that I found. From what I saw, it was just Marta Hedlund.
Is it you're obviously more knowledgeable in these sort of things than I am. Is it common for there to be ghosts or apparitions of some sort of a completely different nature than the person who's died there?
Well, it depends on the situation. I mean, somebody could have brought a spirit with them and it stayed, but typically no.
Yeah.
Unless other things have happened around the area that might draw them to the house.
Well,
But
Right, and I had read, because I told you that she had died in childbirth for their 11th child. I do not know
if the
if
child
all of the children, all 11 of those survived, or if 11 had survived and maybe she had others that had been stillborn,
Right.
or had died shortly after birth.
Also, I'm unfamiliar with the customs of this type of. You said it's a vicarage.
Yes.
And that's some sort of.
It's just a house.
Yeah,
It's just a house?
It's basically
House.
like, okay, so like, you know how like in the States we have like the parsonage that like a pastor of a church might be like set up in.
Okay,
That's
I
what
see
it
what
like
it is.
by the
So
church. It's a house that the church owns, and then they put the pastor and
Correct.
the pastor's family
Okay.
up
Correct.
in this house
'Cause I could
while
see-
they're servicing the church.
I could see spirits kind of being drawn towards or energies being drawn towards an actual place of worship or a church of some kind.
Right, yeah.
But just
Well,
the house.
no, not
Really?
usually. No,
Oh.
not usually. And it's not unusual to just have one spirit in a place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a bunch.
Well, and I'll be honest. I mean, even if it is just the one spirit, even if it is just the spirit of Marta Headland, depending on the like poltergeist level like energy that she's creating, she
Correct.
could be recreating the sounds of the childbirth in which she died.
Right.
So it might not be ghost babies; it could just be projections of ghost babies.
It's very possible. Typically, though, having the fact that they've seen a gentleman sitting at a desk, it's very possible that he could be there.
Yeah.
You know, her husband.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you don't know if all the babies survived.
Right.
So it could have been, you know, she had 11 children, but did they all live
Right.
past a certain
Yeah,
age?
the only one that I read about at all is Nils, who was the resident vicar who moved in
Right.
later.
Okay.
So that's the only one that I know for a fact survived to adulthood.
Oh.
But
Ugh.
I mean, it's very possible that they all survived, and you know,
Yeah.
it's just a giant happy family, except
Right.
for you know the mom who's dead and the father who's abandoned them.
Right.
But
Great situation.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Continue.
You're good. So the second floor of the house contains the family room, the gray room, the blue room, and the yellow. They're really fond of color coordinated rooms.
I'm picking up on that.
We've got the pink room downstairs. You've got upstairs the gray, blue, and yellow rooms. I think the only ones we're missing are like a red room.
Yeah.
We're like,
Yeah, we don't want that.
yeah, and then like like maybe a green room, but maybe they got a greenhouse. Who knows? So those are all in the upstairs area, but reports say that going upstairs it becomes harder to breathe, and you feel a slight weight on your shoulders, like
Heaviness in the air and
yes,
heaviness
and
in
it's
yeah.
like increased the further up the stairs you get.
Ugh.
Yes. So in the blue room hangs a painting of a young boy, and reportedly photographs of him will turn out blurry, or cameras will just fail near it.
This house seems to be set up to be terrifying. Like-
Yes.
Paintings
Oh,
of young children everywhere.
Right.
Just like, what?
So the yellow room in the upstairs area faces a secret room without a door, and apparently no one has ever dared try to enter the secret room, as scratching noises can be heard in the walls
heck
coming from
no.
there.
All right, now I want to visit.
Right? Yeah, let's go on a field trip to Sweden.
no.
Yeah.
I'll bring a shovel. We'll take care of this.
Wow.
So some of the other phenomenon that have been reported, shadow people have been seen. Deceased vicars also reportedly haunt the location. Strange ghostly images will appear in mirrors. Phantom footsteps are often heard. Paintings will fly off the walls at will. Strange light reflections have been seen. This is one of my favorites, I'll be honest with you. Phantom smells of cooking.
That sounds lovely.
Right?
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with.
Yeah.
That's the best kind of haunting. If it just
Yes.
always smells like somebody's grilling up some steaks, I'm right there. Right? Captured captured EVPs include words spoken in English and Swedish, and electronics will also fail frequently. There are reports of being grabbed or touched, and there are feelings of uncontrollable sadness and weeping that have been experienced in certain areas of the vicarage, along with horrible chills. So, in the 1930s, Nils Hedlund's successor, Chaplain Rudolph Tangden, claimed to have seen the ghost of an old woman in gray in the house. He followed her as she walked away, but she vanished in front of his eyes. So that is like the first like time that like an actual
current
like
time.
Yeah, it was like the first apparition of a person that had been seen. I had told you about the guy that they saw sitting at the table, but this was like the first time that an actual apparition had been seen. And it was of an old woman who presumably may have been Marta, but like he didn't know Marta personally.
Yeah.
And so could have been anybody.
Right.
So in the 1940s, the subsequent chaplain, Otto Lindgren, and his wife said that they experienced paranormal activity, including weird sounds and moving objects. In 1941, a woman who visited the vicarage woke up one night in the guest room to see that she was not alone. 3 old women were sitting in a phantom sofa, staring at her in the dark room. So there was not a sofa in this room. But when she woke up in the middle of the night, there was a sofa in this room, and 3 women were sitting on it, crying. Like, just weeping.
So, phantom sofa, I'm all right with. Phantom cooking, I'm good with.
Right.
Adding the crying women on the sofa,
Yeah.
it's kind of a deal.
On a ghost sofa.
Yeah, on a ghost sofa.
Yeah.
Even
It was a sofa that had died previously in the house. And
Jeez, you had to go there.
yeah. Well, that's what we got these protective stones on the table
Hey,
for.
don't
It's
laugh
to
at 'em.
ward off the phantom sofas
telling
that
you.
are upset about the jokes I'm making.
You'll thank me later.
So she turned on the light, and the 3 ghosts were still there, but they appeared to be more blurry. In 1945, Chaplain Eric Lindgren moved into the vicarage, and he started writing down in his journal all the strange things that he experienced. Lindgren had bought a rocking chair, which he brought with him to the vicarage. However, he was never able to sit in his chair very long without being thrown out of it by an invisible force.
Ooh.
Yes. So now we're going to flash forward to 1981. Tor Forsland was a controversial priest who worked in Borgvattnet in 1981. He was a devoted enemy of the occult, and he offered the village to relieve Borgvattnet of the ghosts that were said to reside in the old parsonage. Unfortunately, his exorcisms seem to have met with little to no success, and he left the area within the year. His time spent in Borgvattnet earned him the nickname Spock Proston, which translates to the ghost priest. Also, his methods were considered very controversial, and like the church was building a case against him, so he left the Church of Sweden completely.
Wow.
So today, I'm sorry.
Do we know his methods that were so controversial?
I could not find a lot about him, to be honest, because I tried, because that was one of the most interesting parts of this whole thing.
Yeah.
It was this like random
immediately
priest
grabbed
that
me, and
shows up.
he seems already out of it.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'm going to get all the ghosts out of this fucking vicarage. And then the ghosts are like, I bet you the fuck won't. and he failed, and now it's still a haunted location. And yeah, but it didn't say specifically what his methods were, just that his methods were controversial. I tried everywhere I could find, and but yeah, the town, from what I understand, is cool with this place being haunted. By the way, they did not want him to exorcise all the ghosts from the house, because it made the town famous.
Right.
Yeah.
So like they got a lot of tourism, and like had like shops in town that would sell little angel and demon figurines, and like,
don't worry, guys, I'm here to clear out this cash cow.
Right.
You don't need this.
And so like he comes into town, and they're like, no, we're good. You don't need to do that. And he goes, I'm gonna do it because ghosts are evil always. And I'm like, all right, bro.
I mean, they seem a little
that
upset.
got him.
Right.
They managed to scrape together enough money to buy a ghost couch,
Yeah,
and you're here to just ruin their day even farther.
That ghost couch cost 8,000 ghost bucks.
Yeah.
Andy, where are you?
So today, The house is a small cafe with a bed and breakfast, and so you can actually like book a stay in the house now. And if you are able to spend the night, you will receive a certificate to prove you remained in the vicarage all night long.
Pretty cool.
Right?
They better have a special certificate for staying in the room nobody goes in.
Right. Apparently, still nobody goes in it. And I'm like, this is a secret room. You can't keep me from a secret room. I see a secret room, and I'm going in it.
You go in
with
that
all
secret
the
room.
scratching,
Even with all the scratching.
you don't want to find out what's in there.
Right? What, raccoons, probably.
You know what I'm
Not
betting?
for all that. How did they get in?
Raccoons are crafty.
You would think that there would be another opening somewhere then that they would find.
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's the same. How did a bat get in my basement like a couple weeks ago? Right? Animals are crafty.
You know,
Are.
I think I can blow this whole case wide open. Inside that secret room, there's a grill with a guy cooking. All the scratching is him
There you
flipping
go.
over the steaks.
Right.
That's what that phantom cooking smell is. That's
And
all
the
it
room
is.
is just filled to the brim with like
food.
decomposing food.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
he's been doing it for 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They bought
From
a
the
ghost grill.
hereafter.
Yes.
From the
Yes.
hereafter.
Welcome to Ghost Steaks.
Yep. Hey, you said they have a cafe. They've got to have a kitchen somewhere.
So that's my story. That is the Borgvattnet Vicarage. Shout out to Sweden. Thanks
I was
for having
gonna say
a.
it was the Swedish chef.
Right.
That was
Yes. Skewer to Bushi. Yeah.
mostly like.
Well, so Dee, what stories have you brought with you today?
Well,
I know you said you brought a couple.
I did. New Orleans, or Nolans, if you've never been
Nolans.
there, is probably one of the most haunted cities in the United States. And having been there, I picked a couple stories that are kind of near and dear to my heart because when I was there, I did go on a ghost tour. And there are lots of them out there. Some of them are real hokey. I mean, they'll dress up and they try to scare you and people jump out of things and everything. But there are a lot of historical ones, too. And so we picked a historical ghost tour. And so we went all over the town, a walking tour. And there were several places, 3 in fact, that were very, very spooky and unsettling. But I picked 2 of them. So the first one is about a long time ago. During the colonization of New Orleans, the French were having trouble convincing women to settle there because most of the men there were criminals and crazies and rapists and all this kind of stuff.
It was the Australia of America.
Yes,
Oh.
and it was very treacherous for these women.
Sorry, Australia. I meant historical Australia. I meant historical, original Australia. You're not all criminals and rapists now. That's just regular America.
There you go.
Great save.
Yeah.
You're killing me. You're killing me. Anyway, a boatload of women who were convinced by the French to come and settle in New Orleans decided that they were going to abandon ship in Mobile, Alabama. Every one of them got off the boat, but they left behind about 300 strange storage containers that they called casquettes. Now think about the
Okay.
word.
Yep, that sounds like a coffin.
Exactly.
So-
And they were coffin-shaped containers. Whether they brought them or somebody else did was never said. But the women got off the boat. They were the only people on the boat were these women. Every one of them abandoned ship.
Okay. And they
The
they
ship-
replaced themselves with curse boxes. They
Well,
want women, here's some ghosts.
Coffins
Yeah.
that were supposedly empty, but some were said to contain bodies
Oh, buddy.
of the undead.
Oh, okay.
All of them, once they got the ship into New Orleans, they removed all the coffin-shaped storage containers and nailed them all shut because they had a nasty habit of opening up on their own.
Nope.
Okay, they were taken to a convent and hidden in the attic,
So,
and there they stayed.
no part of this seems like a logical response to, like, except for the women noping the fuck off the boat.
Yeah.
Remember, this was before the 1800s. This is a long time ago.
Yeah, but like
Yeah,
they're like, oh, so we've got these weird coffins
Well-
that keep opening by themselves, so we're just gonna
What-
nail them shut and put it with a bunch of nuns.
But where better to place something like that than in a convent with spiritual and religious people to guard them?
Yeah, but
okay.
but
Was
like,
there a rough estimate of how many there were?
300.
Oh, okay. Well, it's 300 reasons not to go to New Orleans.
Exactly. Many people have asked permission over the years to enter the convent to explore and to look at these, but none have been allowed. It is said that if you ever pass by the convent and see one of the attic windows open, you should get away fast.
well, yeah, because one of the demon zombies is.
Well, in 1978,
Oh Jesus!
Oh, God.
It continues.
Oh, no.
2 reporters broke into the convent
Of course,
To
it was probably
see-
Alex Jones.
to see the casquettes. The next morning, they were found decapitated
Jesus! Fuck!
on the steps of the convent with 80% of their blood drained. Their equipment was smashed, and the crime was never explained, and this is a true story. It was reported in the paper.
So that's either poltergeists,
Vampires.
of some kind, vampires, or some really
demonic.
angry nuns.
Something like that. But yes, that was it. We went by that convent, and it is a
Shit.
creepy place. And it's just very gray. It doesn't look like there's any life or joy. And it's just a very, very creepy place.
Yeah, with a creepy fucking history.
But that story was true. It was in the paper.
Well, that's good. Well, yeah, I'm glad that it was true because that's kind of the idea.
Makes it
that-
even better.
It,
Yeah.
Well, it's the idea of the show.
Yeah. Ho, ho, ho. Okay, this house that we went to, I'll tell you what, when we were walking on the tour, there were about 20 of us. I think 18 to 20 of us were in this tour. And we were walking down the one sidewalk, and as we came to the corner, we walked across so that we were standing across from this house. This is the famous the LaLaurie House in New Orleans. It's one of the most haunted houses in the country.
Okay.
In the 1800s, wealthy and influential socialites Dr. Louis LaLaurie and his wife Delphine held many splendid dinner parties and events there. Delphine was considered to be one of the most beautiful, intelligent, charismatic women of the area. But she was also secretly an insane and sadistic maniac who tortured her slaves.
Oh well, good. At least this story's gonna have a happy ending.
She chained her cook to the stove
Oh Jesus!
and did unspeakable things to others.
Okay, so chaining to a stove is speakable. What's the unspeakable thing?
Well, just hold on.
Oh, no.
Oh, there's more.
Oh.
One evening, while she was getting ready for a party, her young dresser accidentally caught the comb in her mistress's hair and
Oh, no.
pulled it. She was enraged, and she started chasing the young girl around the room with a whip, beating her as she ran. She chased her out onto the balcony roof and either pushed her or the girl fell to her death.
Oh yeah. That'll do it.
This incident prompted an investigation, and she had many of her slaves removed. But she had her relatives go and buy back those slaves to bring them back in secret. Okay? So
Okay.
whispers began about how quickly slaves came and went at the house. And against the LaLaurie family, there was much to do. In 1834, a huge fire destroyed most of the house. It was set by the cook in a suicide attempt, as well as a way to let others know what was going on in the house.
Shit. Can you imagine that as your suicide attempt? Like,
Yeah.
how bad does it have to be that you're like, the only way I can get out of this is if I have no other options
Correct.
to commit suicide but to burn the whole goddamn house down.
Me included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, firefighters found over a dozen slaves changed in a hidden area of the attic.
Oh, shit.
Some were in cages,
Oh, fuck.
and some were strapped to operating tables.
Holy shit.
Some had been mutilated. Their limbs were stacked in buckets around the room. She had done unspeakable experiments and things to these slaves.
Oh my god.
Well, she seems lovely. Great.
Well,
Okay,
yeah.
so I think that we can all agree that slavery was not a great thing.
No.
That was a bad thing.
It could be considered bad on the whole, yeah.
This is somehow worse than regular slavery
Well,
because it's slavery,
with torture.
but with torture. Well,
More torture than
more
normal.
torture
than-
than normal.
And not that I'm saying slavery was good, but not all slave owners mistreated their slaves to the degree that this crazy
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know that anybody has mistreated anybody to this. Like this is some fucking Jack the Ripper shit.
Well, when the city called for action against them, they escaped in their carriage and supposedly got away. There's no known complete record of where they went. Some say they went to Europe and escaped, and who knows if they started all over again there.
Right.
And some say they just disappeared. The house is... The house has had many, many owners since this happened. Oh, and they also found bodies buried in the courtyard.
Naturally.
Of
well,
course,
yeah.
of course.
You know,
So because
you
it's
can't keep those limbs stacked
no.
up in the
And
attic forever.
It's an open courtyard inside the building itself. They came
Okay.
in through
Oh.
an entrance in the back.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's how a lot of the houses and the mansions in New Orleans were.
I'm gonna be honest. That's the best part of this whole story because that's kind of a dope layout.
It's very cool. It's
Yeah.
very cool. But anyway, it's been sold so many times, and no one's been ever able to stay there because things would be moved, things would be broken.
Not to mention the voices that you can hear screaming in agony
Well,
in the
that
attic.
and there have been occasions where the owners who had been renovating came in the next morning and there was like foul smelling, slimy stuff dripping down the walls.
Oh, gross. Oh, God.
All sorts of stuff, stains on the floors that were not there before. So this has been a history of this whole thing. Nicolas Cage owned this house at one time.
Of course he did.
Well, yeah,
and
naturally.
he
you
sold
would.
it. And
Yeah.
he sold it because they couldn't do anything.
He's
with
like,
it.
this is too crazy even for me.
He needs a house to
Exactly,
store all of his
exactly.
octopi pets.
I don't know about that. But there was an owner who wanted to turn it into like a little cafe, but selling carpet downstairs, like a carpet store.
Okay.
And so they were renovating it, and they came in, and like I said, the stuff was broken. There was no indication of anything being broken into. Nowhere. Everything was locked up. The stuff was all over the walls again. So he put in a camera. Nothing would show up on the camera, but yet they'd come in the next morning and the same thing would be there. So he decided to stay one night, and he stayed there in a chair in that room and said that everything was quiet, nothing was going on. All of a sudden, he's awake and didn't remember going to sleep. Only 10 minutes had passed when he looked at his watch, but the entire room was filled with all that stuff, the slime, the blood stains, everything. And he'd only been out, and he doesn't know how he went out, but was only out for 10 minutes, and nobody had broken in or out. So now the house is occupied, and the people say that they are still experiencing some things, but not to the extent that it was. Now, when we were there at that house, the tour guide said, if you'd like to go over and look in, because it was being worked on, but it was night and nobody was there. I said, no, I don't need to go across the street. I'm fine right here. But a lot of people, I said, I don't need that, So I'm standing there with about 6 other people, and we're just kind of talking, and I didn't want to get any closer to that house than I absolutely was. It just had such a horrible feeling about it.
Yeah.
And we're standing there, and I look up, and there's somebody walking out of one of the doors and walks and stands for a minute, and I go, does anybody see that? And 2 of the other ladies said, yeah, what is that? And I said, I don't know, but where did it come from? Because there's nobody inside this house.
Right.
And it stood there for just about maybe 2 minutes, and then it walked around and it disappeared, and there wasn't anything else there. Now, you can say maybe somebody was in the house working on it, but there were no lights on anywhere in the entire building. And coming out of a dark upstairs balcony area and walking around the corner of that balcony area, standing for just a couple minutes and then going back, and there's nothing there. I said, I'm done. I can leave now. Let's go on.
The rational part of my brain wants to say
that there was somebody in there working.
It was like a plant from the Ghost tour, right? Like they put somebody in the house, and then they hit like a walkie-talkie button to buzz them, right?
Well,
like the little
considering that the guide was right beside us, and they don't know exactly when you're going to get there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like you got a pager or something, and
Possibly.
buzz, and then the guy's like, "All right, time to walk out on the balcony and stare for a few minutes, and then walk around the other side."
I suppose
want
that's
to believe
I
that.
want to believe that. Yeah, I would
That's
rather
what
believe
I
that.
want to believe.
I would rather believe that.
That's the rational part of my
Yes.
brain.
I don't know. I cannot answer. I just know what I experienced and what the other people who did not want to go across the street experienced, and it was a great tour. It was a great tour. But New Orleans, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh yeah.
There
I'm
are
amazed
places
if you can find one building in New Orleans that is not haunted.
Well,
to be honest with you.
And some of them aren't all bad. There's just some really weird stuff out there. And they will tell you, people will tell you, don't walk down here. Not just because you could get mugged or anything like that, but there are just strange things that happen all the time. You feel like you're being followed, and you turn around and you catch a glimpse of somebody ducking into someplace. Now, could be a mugger.
Right. And they were like, shit, they spotted me.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, but it's just a very odd place to be, especially at night. And there's just some horrific stories that are pretty darn scary.
That one's pretty horrific.
Yeah, that one was. And that's been documented as well.
So the moral of that story is don't ever torture people because they're going to haunt the place forever.
And Yes.
I can't help but try to think of the mindset of, what was her name, Delphine?
Delphine was her, yes.
Yeah, there's got to be a moment when you're in your attic, you just finished a nice long torture session, you got your buckets of limbs and viscera, and you just stop and take a moment and think.
I have to go get ready for dinner.
Mine was, I've got to taken some wrong turns in my life.
Right.
How did I get into a
But
torture
she
attic?
was she obviously was crazy.
Like those movies in the 90s where it's like, yep, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I got myself into this crazy situation.
Exactly. But
Well, it all started with...
But they were horribly disfigured people. They were still alive.
Oh,
Oh
shit.
no.
Yeah, there were some who were still
Jesus.
alive. Yeah, and the story went that there was one that was in a cage the size of maybe, what is that, about 24 inches?
Oh my
Tall
God. And like
and
just
long
stuffed into
and
it.
stuffed in there, and they'd been in it for so long that they couldn't stand up. Their bodies had like atrophied.
Fucking Christ.
That's how long that they'd been there, and they were begging to be killed.
Yeah, I still question the guy that's like, all right, best way to do this is fire.
Right.
But
Kill it with
Yeah.
fire.
ugh.
Yeah. Well, and that was her.
A cleansing fire, if you
Well,
will.
she just wanted to make sure that nobody else suffered what they were suffering. She
Yeah.
wanted to let somebody know that this was what was going on, because nobody would believe slaves.
No, yeah, that's true.
Nobody would believe them.
Right. If they went to the cops, they'd be like, well, what do you want me to do about it?
Well,
You're a slave.
And, well, at the time that this was going on, New Orleans was starting to look at slavery in a different light, as not good, and as giving, making sure that you were not mistreating. So this was like, that's why they got investigated at the very
Right.
end, because they
Okay.
just, but yeah, it was changing. The feeling of people was changing at
Yeah.
that point in time. But yeah, I mean, how often did that possibly go on? But yeah, so it's very haunted. It still is. And the last I heard, it was still occupied. Now that could have changed.
Right.
Because it's been a while since I've been there. So, but I would go back and do another one. They're pretty cool.
I wouldn't.
Well, yeah,
No,
we'll
thanks.
do a tour then. We'll hit Sweden. We'll swing by New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then,
Sweden I can do.
And then we'll go to wherever Nate's story is set. Nate,
I am taking us to California.
Here we come.
Yeah.
A woman was born, Sarah Lockwood Pardee. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
Probably.
The daughter of Leonard Pardee and his wife, Sarah W. Burns. She would later go on to marry the founder of the Winchester Rifle Company.
Oh, yeah.
She was always a bit of a weird child. Like, she was always into the sort of seances and things like that, and just a superstitious person on the whole. But after her husband died of pulmonary tuberculosis, she inherited $20 million, equivalent to $507,172,414 in 2017.
Holy shit.
That's
In
a lot of
addition
money.
to that,
That's a chunk of change.
No kidding.
in addition to that, she received a 50% ownership of the Winchester Rifle
Holy
Company
shit.
at an income of $1,000 a day, equivalent to
Wow.
$25,359 a day in 2017.
Holy
Good
shit.
grief.
$25,000 a day.
Yeah, a day.
I cannot even imagine $25,000 like. I mean, I was going to say a year, but like I can imagine that. But like, that's a fucking lot of money every day. though.
Especially back then.
And then
Like,
a
no
lump sum
kidding.
of the 500 million.
She had a lot of spending money.
Wow.
After her husband's death in 1881, she inherited all of that money and
Almost kind of makes you not sad that your husband's dead. You know, that's like anti-grieving money. That's what that is.
I'm not even going to. I can't. I just can't.
a short time after her husband's death, her infant daughter also died
Oh,
from
shit.
a condition known as marasmus. I didn't read what that was. But
It sounds bad, though.
yeah, a children's disease in which the body wastes away, which seems like
Oh.
similar to tuberculosis, but maybe they
Right.
just had a different name for it back
Yeah.
then. A Boston medium told her while supposedly channeling the spirit of her late husband that she should leave New Haven and travel west, where she must continuously build a home for herself and the spirits of all of the victims of Winchester rifles throughout history. She left New Haven shortly thereafter, heading to California, though it is possible she's simply seeking a change of location and stuff like that
Right.
to
Right.
distance
Too-
herself
too
from
many
her husband's
memories.
yeah,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So, either way, she went there and began construction on a unfinished farmhouse in the Santa Clara Valley and began building her mansion. Carpenters were hired and worked on the house day and night until it became a 7-story tall mansion.
Holy shit.
She did not use an architect and added to the building in a haphazard fashion, just however she felt like, just to
Okay.
continue building on the home. So the home contains numerous oddities such as doors and stairs that go nowhere, doors that will just 7th floor up, door opens to outside.
Oh, good.
So you can just walk right out of the
yeah,
house.
like in a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. or
Pretty
something.
much, but with more ghosts.
Yeah. The coyote
you guys.
has died so many times. There's definitely a lot of
Yeah.
coyote ghosts.
Oh, my.
Windows overlooking other rooms in the house. So just windows to other rooms or other floors of the house.
That somehow is more creepy than anything.
Stairs
I don't know
Yes.
why.
Yes.
Stairs that are built diagonally and with different size steps for each stair.
And
So
that sounds
just-
like fucking Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about it. The
Yeah.
stairways that move.
Yeah.
Everyone accounts these weird architectural choices to her belief in ghosts. Psychologists theorize that the layout of the house is what a lot of people contribute to the main sort of idea that this place is haunted. So, if you're a skeptic, psychologists say just because of how odd the house is, it can lead to
disconcerting.
It's so disconcerting that it fosters an atmosphere where you can
Okay.
Sure.
believe in
Yeah,
such things.
that makes sense.
Before the 1906 earthquake, the house had been 7 stories high, and carpenters may have been brought in initially to repair the damages caused by the quake. Today is only 4 stories tall. The house is predominantly made of redwood, as Winchester preferred the wood. However, she disliked the look of it, therefore demanding that a faux grain and stain be applied to all of the wood. So all of the wood looks slightly off and sort of sanded down and like a weird grain about it, which is weird.
Because you're using wood and it has a natural grain. How? Yeah.
Yeah. This is why almost all of the wood in the house is covered. Approximately 20,500 U.S. gallons of paint were required to paint the house.
Shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
And fucking paint ain't cheap. That's the 500 million right there.
But the house is built on a floating foundation, which is believed to be what has saved it from the earthquake.
Oh, yeah.
So it didn't
Right.
totally collapse due to that. There are roughly 161 rooms, including 40 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 completed and 1 unfinished.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry.
161 rooms and only 2 bathrooms.
There's only 2 bathrooms in this entire house. That's the creepy part.
And one of
right
them
there.
isn't even finished.
You all have to share this one
Isn't
bathroom.
that something?
Every ghost in this building
Has to share.
has to go in the same bathroom.
It has 47 fireplaces, over 10,000 window panes throughout the house.
47 fireplaces in one bathroom.
Not in the bathroom. You
No.
goofball.
And one
Oh,
bathroom.
I thought you said in
Only-
the
The
bathroom.
bathroom.
Only have one. Yeah, it's a giant bathroom with 47
Yeah.
fireplaces.
Lining the walls. It's a bathroom
The
made of
toilet is
fireplaces.
another fireplace.
However, get this. It has 47 fireplaces, yet 17 chimneys.
Okay, so some of the
They're
rooms are
not
just real
finished.
smoky.
No, the chimneys,
They
I
don't
believe
work.
the chimneys all connect together, but still it's very
That
insane.
is super cool, though.
Yeah.
it's a flue system.
Wow.
It's an interconnected flue system.
There's
Wow.
also evidence of 2 other chimneys, but they don't know where they go. There are 2 chimneys that don't seem to connect to anything.
Why would we be surprised about that?
Yeah. There's 2 basements, so
Oh.
there's 2 levels.
Yeah. Oh, like a basement and then a basement underneath
sub-basement?
of it.
Yeah.
I thought it was maybe like a basement and then like there was a dividing wall and
that-
then a
Another
separate
basement, yeah.
basement.
That could be it.
Wow.
It doesn't specify. The building also has 3 elevators.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah. It's only 4 stories tall.
One
but you need
bathroom,
3
but they've got
elevators.
3 elevators.
Yep.
So
The Winchester property covers about, or the property in total is about 162 acres.
Wow.
okay.
That's where it was at its max. It has since been reduced to about 4.5 acres, the minimum necessary to contain the house and the nearby outbuildings.
Okay.
It has gold and silver chandeliers.
The house itself is 4 acres.
Yes,
Though.
4.5
Isn't
acres.
that crazy?
That also
That's
covers any nearby
crazy.
outbuildings, so
Right,
it might not
okay.
be all of it. It has silver and gold chandeliers, hand-laid parquet floors and trim, and a vast array of colors and materials. Due to Miss Winchester's debilitating arthritis, special easy riser stairways were installed as a replacement for her original steep construction. This allowed her to move through her home freely, and she seemed to always understand where she was going in this maze of a house, but
Well, I mean, she designed it, so.
What kind of?
still, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't imagine. There's also, I believe I read about, I don't know too much about this. There are markings throughout the house that a lot of
Oh.
people say are a map
Okay.
to help her get through it, and other people are like, it's a map to some treasure. There's something hidden in the house. We gotta find it.
So it's like an Ender's Game where they've got the red line that leads
Yes.
from the red team, like,
Yes.
room into the
Follow
battle.
this hallway, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, excuse me. There's only one working toilet in the Winchester House, as was mentioned earlier,
Super
but
fun.
all other restrooms were decoys to confuse the spirits. They were built.
You've fallen for my trap, you fool!
Yeah, they were decoys in order to confuse the spirits. The whole home has also been theorized that it was built so that way, if the spirits of the victims for the Winchester rifles
Correct.
came for her,
Correct.
it would confuse.
That was
all
why
the
she
spirits.
built
Yeah.
it to.
She could get around,
to
but then the
atone.
ghost would
Yeah.
be like, "This staircase doesn't go anywhere. God damn it!
Wish I
could, you lady."
Wish I could go through a wall to find
Right.
out. Yeah.
They were corporeal spirits.
Oh, I
yeah.
see.
They were
Ooh, big
completely
word.
solid.
She was also so afraid of the ghost that she slept in a different one of her 40 bedrooms each night. She went to a different bedroom every night.
But she set up a mop and pillows.
Yeah,
each
yeah,
bed, so
yeah.
it always looked like.
Oh, jeez.
Many of the home's conveniences
that
were rare for the construction at its time. These include air forced heating, so actual heating that would go through the house. Modern indoor toilets and plumbing, only though one of them worked.
I got all these toilets and all this plumbing.
Yeah,
But I'm only gonna hook up one.
But
to
I'm
trick
not
those
using
ghosts.
Yeah.
water conservation in California.
Well, hey, yeah, and that's fair. At the time, maybe they were going through a drought.
It's possible.
I've also figured it out. That's why there's 3 elevators. Maybe she's sleeping in one of her 40 bedrooms on the 7th floor, restrooms on the 3rd floor. You gotta have elevators.
That
you
is
gotta get
true.
there quick.
That is true.
If you don't want to go down your haphazardly weird stairs or accidentally walk through one of your doors to nowhere.
Jesus.
There's also a rare form of elevator in there, which is a horizontal hydraulic elevator piston. So it's
Sweet.
yeah, it uses
is pretty
hydraulics to raise and lower.
She went all out for this ridiculous house.
I heard that she got some of the plans when she had seances because she had a lot of seances, and people would, mediums would say that this is what I got. This you need to build. You can't stop
Right.
because if
Yeah.
you do, then yeah.
It was built continuously for 38 years.
Holy
She
fuck.
continued construction on it through the night for 38
Yes.
years, never stopping construction.
How did she get any sleep? Well, I guess if you're in the bedroom all the way over
Yeah.
here and you're like, we're working on the front of the house today. Front of the house. I'm sleeping in the back. You're working on the front.
I have a feeling she didn't sleep much.
No,
Yeah.
probably not.
So I couldn't actually find many of the things particularly pertaining to Ghost. A lot of it was very factual, things like that, just
Right.
what we know. So I don't know about any seances that could have been done. Makes sense based on who she is.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Because they were big in that time.
Yeah. She never skimped on the many adornments that she believed contributed to its architectural beauty. So she loved the place. Many of the stained glass windows were created by the Tiffany Company. Some were designed specifically for her, and others she designed by herself, including a spider web window that featured her favorite web design and the repetition of the number 13, which she used continuously throughout the entire
Because
house.
it was a recreation
Just
of
got
the cover of Amazing Fantasy 13 in which Spider-Man premiered.
Oh, God.
That
Oh,
is actually
Christian.
factually inaccurate.
Yeah.
He debuted in Amazing Fantasy 15. But anyway, go on.
Factually inaccurate as far as Mrs. Winchester too, but that
Right,
was
right.
a great.
But 13 was
in-
her
yes.
favorite number,
Yes,
so I had to
yes.
incorporate that into the joke.
It's actually not an unlucky number if you think about it.
For some reason, this spiderweb window was never actually installed in the house. She designed it and everything, but never used it.
It's just sitting in one of the two basements.
Outbuildings, or the basement.
She
Yeah.
stored it in the so-called $25,000 storage room, so named because its contents were originally appraised at a value of $25,000. The value today is inestimable, but $25,000 would be equivalent to $366,000 in 2017.
That is ridiculous. And it's just for
1,000?
storage. Like, you
Thousand,
go into
not
this
millions.
No, 1,000.
Wow.
This
$366,000
Storage room, whatever's in there.
and all that is in there is just shit you have no use for.
That is estimated
Like
to be
a
worth
Tiffany
$25,000
spider
at the
web
time. Yeah.
window. Wow.
Well, when you
Designed
have
by Tiffany.
Yes.
when you have $1,000 a day to spend, it only takes less than a month to fill that room.
that
Yeah.
is true.
It's-
That is true.
That's just how wealthy she was.
Wow.
The second window that she designed was designed by Tiffany herself, the owner of the company, so that when sunlight struck the prismatic crystals, a rainbow is cast across the room. The window was installed in an interior wall in a room with no light exposure.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
Preventing
That's
this
awesome.
effect from being seen.
That's
when
awesome.
Yeah.
when Miss Winchester died, she died of heart failure one night. All of her possessions, apart from the house, were bequeathed to her niece and personal secretary. Her niece then took everything she wanted and sold the rest in a private auction. It supposedly took 6 trucks working 8 hours a day for 6 weeks to remove all of the furniture from the known rooms. That wasn't even actually everything, because a new room was just discovered in 2016
Wow.
that contained a couple couches and an organ piano. Yeah.
So there could be more.
There could be more, yeah.
Wow.
Miss Winchester made no mention of her mansion in the will, and appraisers considered the house worthless due to damage caused by the earthquake and the unfinished design and impractical nature of its construction. It was sold at auction to a local investor for over $135,000 and subsequently leased for 10 years to John and Mamie Brown, who eventually purchased the house. In February 1923, 5 months after Winchester's death, the house was opened to the public, with Mamie Brown serving as the first tour guide. Today, the house is owned by Winchester Investments LLC, a privately held company representing the descendants of John and Mamie Brown. The home retains unique touches that reflect Miss Winchester's beliefs and her reported preoccupation with warding off malevolent spirits. These spirits are said to have directly inspired her in the way the house should be built. The number 13 and spiderweb motifs, which carried spiritual significance to her, occur throughout the house.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Wow.
Here it is. In 2016, it was announced that another room had been found, an attic space that contained a pump organ, Victorian couches, a dress form, sewing machine, and paintings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another.
So
weird
is
house.
it? But it's still open to the public. Is it? It's like a landmark now. It's like
Yeah.
a museum.
It's actually a national landmark, yes. It cannot be removed at all. In 2017, the Winchester Mystery House Company debuted their first daytime tour in 20 years called the Explore More Tour. So
Wow.
this new tour takes people through rooms that have never been open to the public before, and many unfinished rooms. So if you ever want to visit,
Go.
Yeah.
I want to go.
Every now and then you can see something on TV about it.
This house is the most fucking ridiculous thing.
Have you seen a picture of it?
No.
I don't know if you want to tweet out. There's many pictures.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean we'll
Of-
definitely before this
Yes.
episode comes out, we'll be putting up pictures and shit. So,
Like-
oh, this is
I have-
crazy. So hold on, this is a gallery,
Yeah.
and it's just like little ridiculous.
It's just
Angles.
Is
The
this
angles. and-
chandelier? Hold on, this is a chandelier from like a 10-foot ceiling,
yes.
but the chandelier is half
So
the
it
height.
ta-
It's like a 5-foot chandelier in a 10-foot ceiling.
yeah. So you have to walk around the chandelier. You can't.
This
There's
is
just tons of stuff like that.
ridiculous.
I wish there were pictures of I'm pretty sure that's a window that just leads to another room. It doesn't
Like
actually
that
go
one?
to
yes,
the outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
And doors that,
This
of
is
course, don't lead
crazy.
anywhere. And
I know there's a couple famous pictures of the staircases that would go up the wall sideways and then just end in the ceiling.
you have people like this.
Yeah.
Like sideways on it because they've reached the top of the stairway and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All right, yeah, I'm definitely gonna put out a bunch of pictures of this place on the social because that is ridiculous looking. That is the coolest fucking thing.
There's the LaLaurie house.
Oh, that's cool. Oh shit! But there's like pictures of shit that I didn't want to see right below it. Thanks, D.
Oh, I just saw that too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
At a glance, the Winchester House looks pretty much just like a incredibly expensive mansion.
Yeah, it does.
But if you
Those
look
are the
closer,
slaves
you'll
in the
see
attic.
windows that just don't make
Like
sense
pictures, like
and
recreation.
Right.
stuff like that. So if you want to post,
Shit. Yeah, for sure. Well, listeners, yeah, I'm sure that by the time this episode's come out, you've probably already seen some of them. But for sure, look up more of these pictures because this place is fucking crazy, and I love it. Well, I guess so. That's gonna wrap us up for today. Hey, thanks for being on the show, you guys.
Thank
Well,
you for
no
having
problem.
us.
Yeah, thank
no
you.
problem. And listeners, make sure you're checking us out on Instagram and Twitter at AntiFictionCast. Like I say, we'll put up some of these pictures of some of the haunted houses we talked about today. And if you've got suggestions or questions or concerns or comments, email us at antifictioncast@gmail.com. And keep tuning in for the rest of the spookiest month of anti-fiction. We'll see you next week.